All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me for this webinar today on October 21st. We are entering into our full-time MBA last information session for this recruitment cycle, as our program will soon be starting in January. But we are very excited to be sharing some final details for those who might still be interested in joining us this year. To start, let me introduce myself. My name is Hannah Foster. I am one of the recruitment and admissions managers for the full-time MBA. I specifically work with applicants who reside in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. So if that is you, I will be your admissions manager for this entire process. But in general, our team is here to support you no matter where in the world you are applying from. Some housekeeping rules before I go any further. If you have questions, you are more than welcome to ask them. You can either use the chat function or you can use the Q&A function, and I'll be keeping an eye on both of those areas for answers during this webinar. Of course, with the webinar nature, it's great if you can keep your questions general and relevant to anyone who might be tuning in today. We encourage you to ask personal questions, but those questions are best saved for a conversation with your individual recruitment manager. So I will share those details at the very end of the webinar. All right, so we have a nice agenda ahead of us. I'm going to start by introducing Rotterdam a bit and the city in which our school is located. From there, I'll take you to get to know the cohort a bit. We'll discuss the MBA curriculum, from classes to leadership development to careers. We'll also touch on the student life outside of the classroom. We'll dive deeper into the career team and the support they provide you during your MBA. And for especially important for this time of year, we're going to spend time going through the admissions process and how you can best prepare to apply for our program. We'll discuss financing your MBA, and I'll save some time at the end for questions. But like I said, if you already have questions on your mind, or as I'm mentioning something, please feel welcome to use the Q&A box or the chat function. So, Rotterdam. Rotterdam is the second largest city in the Netherlands after Amsterdam. It is one of Europe's largest business hubs. It's actually home to the largest port in Europe. So the Rotterdam Harbor is well known for its global logistics companies and different freighters and different international corporations being based here. There's a lot of European companies, a lot of international corporations that all call Rotterdam home. And next to all those companies, of course, are the individuals. So we have more than 170 nationalities living in Rotterdam. The Netherlands in general is quite a diverse place to live. Walking down the street, of course, you'll hear Dutch, you'll hear English, and you'll hear any number of languages from other places around the world. The final piece, which I think is quite up and coming for our students, is the presence of different tech accelerators and venture capital networks that are based in the Netherlands. A very fun fact about this country is that one of the Dutch royal family members, one of the princes, is actually involved in a tech accelerator for the country. So if you're wondering what the tech scene here is like, you can even see in the royal family that it is quite well supported. While you will be calling Rotterdam your home for the MBA year, of course, the people who are doing the MBA with you are just as important in this equation. Our international full-time MBA has around 120 students each year, and they are representing all different backgrounds. So if you look at our class profile, which is on the screen, this is our current class who are actually about to finish up their MBA. They're coming from 30 different countries all over. You can see that the distribution is quite equal. So when you are talking to your classmates, they are most likely going to be having quite a different background than you. And the other one that I'll bring your attention to next to the nationalities is the academic and career background of our students. So when we say diversity, we don't just mean where someone is coming from or what their passport says. It's also their academic background, what they've done in their career so far. So we have finance people, business people, engineers, lawyers, doctors, all of those, and they are what makes the MBA discussions really lively, and they are the ones that will be supporting you by your side as your network through the program and for years after. Speaking of the program, the curriculum of the MBA is designed to give you a really broad understanding of business so that no matter what you do after your MBA year, you will have the skills needed to succeed in a corporate environment, whatever that means for you. A very important thing to know about our MBA is that it starts in January. So this year, our MBA will begin on January 6th. Usually it's around the first or second week of January. We always advise students to arrive a bit early so they have time to settle in and maybe even spend the new year in Rotterdam. When you arrive on campus in January, of course, it'll be a bit chilly as winter in the Netherlands can be a bit cold, but we're going to do our best to give you a warm welcome to the city and to the campus. Your first step in your arrival process will be the introduction week. So during this intro week, you will be mostly on campus. You will be having sessions with the academic director of the MBA, of your program director, with some of the faculty and coaches. The goal is to introduce you to all the people who are going to be supporting you throughout the year. Another component, of course, is, like I said, meeting your classmates, your future network, and your friends as well. So there are a number of intercultural communication workshops and activities designed for you to get to know your current classmates. One of those introduction components that I mentioned is something we introduced for the first time last year. It's called the PIT project. And the PIT project is all about orienting you in Rotterdam and the university campus to build a foundation for your future MBA success. During the PIT project, you will have a lot of workshops thinking about your goals for the year ahead, thinking about the impact that you want to make on the business world. And this is a moment where you will get to visit local businesses based in Rotterdam. You will get to see some of the work companies here are doing in the sustainability space. And you will really get to do this alongside your classmates, like I mentioned. So already building connections. Part of this is also the Transforming Business Conference, which is something we also did for the first time last year. This is done in cooperation with a UN agency, and we aim to bring different really impact-driven businesses on campus for sessions. So there will be, of course, keynote speakers talking about things like the food industry and how we can support growing populations, more renewable energy focused businesses. And then in the afternoon, there's usually breakout sessions where you can actually sit down and have some roundtable discussions. And again, this is all within the first few weeks of your MBA. So it's going to start your connections and new network off on a really strong foot. From module 1 up until module 3, that's roughly the first half of your MBA, those are your business fundamental courses. So through these courses, again, we want to give you a broad understanding of the business world. You can see the full course list on my screen, but you'll be taking everything from business sustainability to corporate finance. You might be wondering, how do all of these classes look on a daily basis, which is a wonderful question. We expect our students to kind of go back into full-time student mode for this first portion of their MBA. This means from essentially module 1 to much of module 3, you will be taking classes Monday to Friday, 9:30 to 4:30, and you'll have a break in the middle, of course, for lunch. It's a quite intensive program, and some of these subjects might be brand new to you. If you're coming from a finance background, maybe you've never done anything with marketing before, but that is the beauty of the MBA. If you are from that finance background, you'll be a great resource for your classmates when you're studying corporate finance, just as your classmates who are from a more marketing or a more sustainability background could support you when you are doing things that are brand new and that you might just need a little extra explanation on. In July, once you wrapped up these kind of core business courses, it's time to put your new skills to the test with something called the Living Management Project. The Living Management Project is kind of the hallmark consulting experience of your MBA. For this, the university will bring different clients from really across Europe, but a lot of the businesses are located in the Netherlands, and they will come in as true clients the way that a normal consulting firm would have clients. You'll be put in a team around 5 to 6 of your fellow classmates, and you will work extremely closely with your client to solve a real business case, business challenge that they are having. An example that I can give you from this past year, we had a company coming from the retail kind of hardware space. So they provided tools, construction materials, things like that. And they had a loyalty program working, but it wasn't really reaching the kind of levels of penetration that they were hoping for. So our student consultants worked with their team. They visited the office, they visited several storefronts, they interviewed top customers to understand how they could make the loyalty program more effective and just more used among their customer base. The nice thing about the Living Management Project is that because you're working so close with this company, you get to build really strong connections. And I know someone who was actually involved on the project that I just mentioned has since gone on to do an internship right now during their elective period, which I'll touch on in a moment. So if you're thinking, I want to intern or even maybe work full time at my LMP client after the program, that is something that is fairly common. After your LMP, the kind of summer period kicks off. For the first time last year, we introduced our summer school, which was a 2-week period of master classes. During the masterclass summer school period, we invite different speakers from all over the world to really talk about the current issues of business and, let's say, more of the trending topics in the corporate world. So, to give you an example, this year, of course, you've probably seen AI is everywhere, all over LinkedIn, all over company strategies. So, we had several workshops focused on generative AI and what it meant for the economy. So, the general AI bubble and what that would look like in case it breaks, as well as AI specifically for marketing and how marketeers can leverage AI for more effective copywriting, content, data collection, data analytics, and really enhance their working process. We do also give you some time off in the summer, and many of our students will go back to their home countries or they will maybe travel with their classmates around Europe or another part of the world. And then when you get back from that, typically it's your study trip. For the study trip, each year we offer around 7 or 8 different destinations, and every destination has a theme. So this year, some examples, we did the energy transition in Dubai. We did kind of the green economy in Iceland. We did business and politics in Washington, D.C. We did the digital transformation in Estonia. You might be able to see the link between where you are going and what you're studying while you are there. During your study trip, of course, you're going to be in this new destination, and you will be typically taking classes at one of our partner universities on the ground. You'll also be visiting local companies. So, for example, our students who went to Washington, D.C. visited the World Bank and several lobbying organizations. And of course, you will be enjoying yourself in a new culture and maybe a new part of the world for you. After your study trip wraps up and you are back in the Netherlands for this autumn season, this is your Module 5, and Module 5 is all about you. We have 5 different areas that you can sort of specialize in. Those are in marketing, finance, supply chain management, strategy, and sustainability. You're going to choose one of those 5 areas as an advanced course where you will dive super deep into the topic, really focus on some cases, do a quite engaged project, and really think about, what you want to carry from that area forward into your career. We also have a list of around 25 different electives that are going to come from those same 5 categories, plus leadership, so 6 different categories, and you get to pick 3 of them. It's up to you which 3 you choose. You can do all finance if you're super interested in that area. You could mix and match and do 1 strategy, 1 leadership, 1 finance. It's very much up to you. The electives change every year to keep things fresh and also, respond to different things happening. So there are some more like AI focused electives for the first time this year. But in general, these are really great ways to learn about something specific and carry it through the rest of your MBA journey. I mentioned before an internship. An internship is something around a third of our MBA students do. The most common time to do an internship is during that Module 5 period I was just mentioning. During the electives, you can choose to do your courses maybe in the evening or maybe on the weekends, and some of our students do work full-time next to their elective courses. Other things happening throughout the year, as if this wasn't enough, there is a course called The Craft of Managing for Positive Change, which is done really closely with our academic director. And the TCM course, as we call it, is all about impact. So, whereas you'll be thinking about your individual impact in kind of the personal leadership development, which I'll get to in a moment, the TCM courses are about the kind of impact you want to make on the business world as a whole. So you're going to discuss some really big topics in the world, like the climate emergency, like social impact, like diversity, and how you, as an MBA graduate, can go on to address some of those issues in your future career. Personal leadership development, which I just touched upon, we call it PLD, is again all about you. During PLD, you're going to get team and individual coaching sessions where you can really discuss who you are, who you want to be, and how you're going to be able to get there. You're also going to have some like workshops where you're working collaboratively with a small group. And you're also going to have workshops where people come in and talk to you about their leadership journey as well. The last throughout the year is our career development, which I will touch upon next. So, of course, doing a full-time MBA, that typically means that you have taken a step back from your job and left your job most likely to focus for that 1 year on our MBA. So, career-related skills is not just about getting you back to a job that's even better than the one you were at before. It's really about preparing you for a lifelong career and thinking about the impact that you can make and how your entire life will kind of turn out around your career. So there's a number of different areas that our careers team is going to focus on. The first is indeed deepening your self-awareness through PLD, through regular reflections in your classes, through discussions with your classmates. You're going to figure out, okay, how can I market my strengths? How can I market the fact that I've done an MBA and that I've done all of these things before my MBA, and really portray it in a way that speaks to hiring managers. You're going to be exploring the market. So a lot of our students are going to come in and think, this is what I've done in my career so far. I have an idea of what's next, but maybe I'm not totally sure what kind of position I look for. So you're going to be able to see the different kind of opportunities that are out there. And maybe one of your classmates is going to be working in something that you've never even heard of before. And then that becomes your next step. Developing your network is a crucial part of this. We really do a lot to foster networking through the MBA and encourage you to build connections among your classmates, but also all of the speakers and lecturers and alumni that you'll interact with throughout the program. And finally, let's say the practical component is upgrading your interview and job search skills. So, applying for the job and getting the job is just part of the battle. You also have to find these jobs and go through the application process. What this looks like in practice, you will have a number of different ways to develop your career related skills that I just talked about. So, you'll get an entire marketing course that's focused on the self. This will take place through module 1 and 2. So, those beginning parts of your MBA year, you'll be doing different quizzes and kind of reflection opportunities to figure out your strengths, your traits, your motivation. You'll be learning how to network because I know that networking can seem a bit abstract. How do you go into a room and network? We'll be giving you tips and tricks and strategies how to kind of work the room. You'll be practicing the art of storytelling. So, the fact that you've done an MBA, like I said, is a big jump. You're going to really figure out how to frame that in a way that speaks to your career path overall. And of course, you'll be developing job interview strategies and executing those in your future interviews. There's a number of workshops and career labs, so diving even deeper into some of these topics, or even going into something industry specific, like a case cracking interview. You won't be doing this alone. You'll get a lot of peer feedback. There's backpacking sessions, which is kind of small group coaching. Those happen through all of your modules. And then you do get a individual career coach as well. So they will be working with you throughout the MBA to help you think about your career next step, help you start identifying target companies and titles, and making the right connections on LinkedIn, and ultimately working to find your post MBA role. Here's a bit more on what this looks like throughout the MBA year. So you'll see in module 1, you're already getting the career coaching and the backpacking and the career lab, but you're going to have some kind of reflection moments on everything that brought you to the point of your MBA. So designing your life. You're going to get LinkedIn boot camp. I know showing up on LinkedIn, posting regularly can be really daunting, but it is really important. So you're going to learn how to post effectively, how to send connections effectively, and how to make your LinkedIn work for you. There will be topic talks, ask the expert, self-marketing, like I said. So we're also going to be bringing in some other people to tell you about their careers and how they found a path that really worked from them. Going into module 2, you're building on some of those areas that I mentioned. So when you're thinking career fundamentals and how to apply for your post MBA job, of course, the application itself is really important. Writing a CV will be one of your most essential skills. And a lot of the career work that we do is really focused on the Netherlands job market. So while our students go on to work around the world, our careers team can definitely support you in getting your CV into a more standard European format, as well as a cover letter, recruiter sessions. There's going to be some improvisation. We keep it really fun as well. So those are all other components of your career track. Through the rest of the year, there's going to be, again, some more specific sessions like case cracking if you're thinking about maybe going into the consulting space. There are the MBA career days, which are a lot of fun. We bring in alumni to talk about their careers, but the alumni can also do mock interviews with you, including mock case interviews. And they have been in your shoes before, so they know exactly what it's like to be nearing the end of your MBA and really focusing on your next step of employment. There's also some more practical points. So you'll see like taxes and visas, and I will touch upon a visa option in just a moment. But we also want to prepare you for, let's say, the more logistical side of working in a new market. And actually, after graduation, you still get access to some coaching sessions as well, because we know that your career does not end with that first role after graduation. And we really try and support you throughout the rest of your career. Of course, the numbers are very important when you're thinking about your career. A number that I really like is that 92% of our graduates end up working in Europe. If you think back to our class profile slide, which I showed earlier, around 99% of our students come from an international background, so not the Netherlands. That means in practice, most of our students are coming from outside of Europe and most are staying in Europe. That has to do with a few things. Like I mentioned, the program really can set you up for success in the European job market in terms of connections, in terms of market skills, in terms of your CV format, but also a visa option, which I will get to in just a moment. Other ones for you to highlight with the MBA world, you may have heard of the jumps that students can make. We have the jump in change of function. So maybe you're going from marketing to finance. You have the region. So you are working in, let's say, China, and now you're going to work in the Netherlands. You have industry. Maybe you were working in beauty and you want to transition to energy. Those are the three jumps. You will see that the majority of our students change at least one aspect of those, and actually 50% change all three. So if you're thinking, I want to do an MBA to make a change in my career, this program can definitely support your success there. In terms of job finding, these are numbers from our students that graduated last year, and we are actually about to update the ones for this year. Just about half of our students have actually accepted an offer before they even graduate, which is awesome, really speaks to their hard work. And around 90% of our students have accepted an offer within 3 months of graduation. As I've touched upon a few times now, if you are thinking about being one of those about an 89% of our graduates who want to stay in the Netherlands after graduation, the fact that you've done an MBA here does give you the opportunity to apply for an orientation year visa. The orientation year is for our non-European students who have done a educational program like an MBA. You'll be able to apply for it after you've graduated, and it gives you full working rights for 12 months in the Netherlands. This means that you have the same status as an EU citizen, so you don't need any sponsorship to stay and keep on working here. If you are thinking about working here for longer, maybe relocating here permanently, that is something that is fairly straightforward to do. You could eventually move to a highly skilled migrant visa. And in fact, a number of our students actually do a highly skilled migrant visa with their first position after the MBA. Of course, an MBA is not just classes and career searching. It is also a year where you can take a step back and really enjoy student life again. And if I had to describe our cohort in 2 words, I'd say very curious and very collaborative. This isn't a cohort where you're competing over the same few titles. This isn't a cohort where people are gatekeeping opportunities. Everyone really cares about the success of each other, and they work together to put on some really fantastic events. Extracurriculars are, I think, part of the students' favorite component of the MBA. So you'll see here a list of clubs that our students have organized this year. For the professional side, there is everything from crypto to marketing to supply chain. There's also a culture club. There's some more social impact focused, as well as the more fun side of things, which are the recreational clubs. The professional clubs do a lot of different activities. So I can tell you a little bit about our Impact Investing Club because that one has been very active this past year. The Impact Investing Club is, well, they travel to different universities all around Europe to do impact investing competitions. This is where you often do a pitch about an idea for a company or a startup to solve usually some sort of problem posed by the impact investing competition host. And the students can even go on to receive real funding for this business ideas, which is a great option for you if you're thinking about working in startup or impact investing itself. Our students are actually hosting their own impact investing competition and summit on November 7th. So, what this is going to look like during the summit, they're going to have different speakers from venture capital firms, from angel investors, from tech hubs all over the Netherlands and all over Europe coming in to do keynotes and different sessions. And then during the impact investing competition that happens the day after, the students will be running, kind of taking the opposite role, and they'll be running the competition. So they will be working with other MBA students who are coming to our campus for this competition. There is a €5,000 prize at stake. So it should be a fantastic event. To give you an idea of what some of our other events do, I know our crypto club did an event with Binance, which is one of the largest crypto exchanges active in Europe. Our Women in Leadership Club does a lot of networking events focused on women in different industries. And our athletics club, and actually most of our students end up participating in something called the MBA tournament. During the MBA tournament, different MBA programs from all over Europe head to HEC Paris for a weekend long of sports tournaments. And when I say sports, I mean it very broadly. There is everything from chess to football to esports to pub quizzes. It's a really competitive spirit and a really nice way to get to interact with other MBA students. Something that I think is really cool and speaks to the curious and collaborative nature of our cohort. This year, our students won the Best Delegation Award at the MBA tournament that I just talked about. This means that they had the best team spirit, and I believe they were known as the Orange Machine, speaking to the national color of the Netherlands. Of course, all of the things I just talked about, from the program to the cohort to the student life. In order to complete the MBA, you also have to apply for the MBA. So I'll start with our application deadlines. As I mentioned before, we are a January start program. So our first intake, our intake is in January, but our last application deadline for the January 2026 intake is on November 4th. This is the very last deadline. However, if you are at all thinking about trying to join us for this January, I really strongly encourage you to reach out to your admissions manager so you can have a conversation about making sure you have everything you need for your application and making sure you can get everything done for your visa deadline. If you are planning ahead and thinking about joining us for January 2027, our applications typically open in February of 2026, so the year before, and we have 6 rounds throughout the year. I know we're in the last round at this point, but I will give you the advice that if you are thinking about 2027, you should apply as early as you feel ready. This just gives you more breathing room, more time to find accommodation, more time to get your visa taken care of, more time to prepare for a really big move and leaving your home country behind. But if you are a really eager beaver and are excited to start your MBA in just a few months, we can definitely try and make a 2026 intake happen for you as well. I am just going to take a sip of water. Please take a look at some of these eligibility requirements that I'll talk through in a moment. So, what you will need to apply for our program, at the very minimum, you're going to need an undergraduate degree. So, that's typically a bachelor's degree. You can apply if you have a master's. If you already have an MBA, that is a conversation you'll need to have with your admissions manager to make sure you're still eligible for the program. But in terms of what kind of bachelor's you need, there are no specifics. You can have studied business, but if you've studied biology or marketing or art or really anything at all, that qualifies for our degree requirement. We do also ask for a standardized test score. That can be a GMAT or a GRE, or it can also be the RSM Business Admissions Test, the BAT, which I'll talk about more in a moment. As a minimum to apply for a full-time MBA, you need at least 3 years of postgraduate professional experience. We also look for the ability to contribute in a multicultural setting. So we want to make sure that you're going to be able to thrive in the really diverse cohort that we have. And we also do now ask for English language proficiency depending on where you've studied and where you're coming from. This usually will mean you'll have to take an exam like a TOEFL or an IELTS, but again, that is something you can discuss on an individual basis with your admissions manager. If you meet all of these eligibility requirements, you need a few different documents to apply. So we ask for one prepared essay. Our essay prompt is focused on RSM's mission of being a force for positive change. So we're going to ask you for 500 words on how you have either been a force for positive change so far in your life, in your career, or how you plan to be a force for positive change after the MBA with us. When we say force for positive change, that doesn't always mean that you have to be working with a nonprofit or doing something related to sustainability or working for or volunteering at a charity. To us, being a force for positive change means that you're showing up in your world, in your workplace, in your life, trying to make some sort of impact. That can be streamlining a process, maybe a financial process, if that's the industry you're working with. That can be managing your team really effectively and creating a really strong work culture. That can be something related to sustainability or maybe some volunteering you've done throughout your life. But we want to hear what this means to you and how you've done it, or again, how you plan to do it after the MBA. We'll also ask for a copy of your CV. We do need 2 professional references. These are people that you have worked with. So we're not looking to hear from your previous professor or teacher or friends. It does not have to be your direct supervisor. It can be your boss if you'd like, but we also accept professional references from a client you worked with, maybe someone that you worked with on a team directly, maybe someone that reported to you. It's important that they're able to speak about your professional capabilities and how you show up in the workplace. As I mentioned, we're looking for the satisfactory GMAT or GRE score to be sent directly to RSM through the testing reporting function or the BAT, which again, I'll get to in a moment. We'll need an official transcript and a diploma from your university. If your university was taught in a language other than English, we will ask for the local language as well as an English translation. And then finally, we just need a copy of your passport and we'll check to make sure that it's valid for the duration of the program. So, more about the business admissions test, the BAT as we call it. The BAT is something that we offer as an alternative to the GMAT or GRE, and I'll get to who qualifies for it in just a minute. It's an online test that takes usually just 2 hours. It's going to measure a lot of the same things as your GMAT or GRE. So, looking at your verbal reasoning, your critical thinking, your analysis, how you interpret data. It doesn't take as long to prepare for. So, while there is a practice exam available, it's not a test that you're going to need to buy a book for and spend weeks of your life focused on. And it is something that you can take on your own time, so you don't have to take it at a scheduled time slot or anything like that. Who is eligible for the BAT? We're looking for someone who has either an academic background with something related to quantitative skills. So that could be in business, in engineering, in finance, in life sciences, or it can be something that you've gained through your professional background. So let's say you studied marketing, but in your role as a marketeer, you have managed budgets and you do data analysis every day and you work really closely with the finance team. That could help you to be eligible for the BAT. How to find out if you're eligible for the BAT? Again, that is a question that you can talk to your admissions manager about. They will be able to take a look at your CV or at your LinkedIn and let you know pretty much right on the spot if you are eligible for the exam. If you have a GMAT or a GRE score, you are going to submit that before you finish your application, so it'll be part of your online application, whereas the BAT, you would receive an invitation to take it only after you apply online. To go through the entire applications process in a bit of detail. So we have the online application, all of those pieces we just went through, your transcript, your essay, your references. Those are all going to go into our online platform called Embark. You can find the link to start your Embark application on our website, or it'll be sent out in the email you receive with the recording of this event. So get that all taken care of, submit by the deadline. We will conduct a first evaluation. So we'll make sure that you have all the documents that you need, that you meet our eligibility requirements, that you look like you could be a really strong fit for our program. Successful applicants will then be invited to complete their Kira assessment, which I'll talk about in a moment, their admissions interview, and the BAT if you are doing the BAT as your standardized test. Once all of those things are done, you'll receive a final decision from the admissions committee. To give you an idea of timeline, of course, at this time of the year, with the visa deadlines rapidly approaching, everything moves a bit faster. So if you're applying for our last deadline, you're probably going to hear back very, very soon with your first evaluation, as well as your final admissions decision after you finish your interview and your Kira and your BAT. In more, let's say, early times of the year, it can take sometimes a few weeks for us to review your application, but it usually takes maximum of 4 to 6 weeks for the entire application process from submission to final decision to take place. The interview is next to your essay, one of the most important parts of your application. The interview is going to take place with either a member of the admissions team, so someone like myself, or another one of our admissions managers, or our admissions director, or it could also take place with one of our full-time MBA alumni. During the interview, which usually take place online, you're going to have a one-on-one conversation that's really focused on you. Before the interview, we typically ask you to complete a SWOT analysis of yourself. This isn't something we're checking, it's just kind of a tip that we can give. So we want to really see your strengths, your weaknesses, your goals for the MBA, what you can see yourself doing after graduating, and overall who you are as a person and why you want to study with us at RSM. We're going to ask for a lot of examples. So it's very wise to reflect back on your career and think about some times that might have been difficult for you, but also times that you were really proud of. So some of your greatest accomplishments, as well as some things that maybe looking back, you wish you could have done a bit differently. The interview is an opportunity for our team to learn more about you, but it's actually also a moment where you can learn more about the program. So we really encourage you to ask questions during these sessions. We want you to be yourself. A question I get a lot from our applicants is what makes an application very strong for the program. And I think it's really important to say that we're not just looking at your test score or the last company that you worked at. We really want to see students who have taken a moment to reflect. They're coming into the MBA with an open mind and a willingness to change and grow and learn more about themselves. And we also want students who, well, there's no such thing as a perfect MBA student, but we aren't looking for the perfect student in your interview as well. It's important that you're honest with us and that we get a sense of your most authentic self. I also mentioned before the Kira talent admissions assessment. So for your Kira assessment, this again will take place after you complete your online application and at the same time that you receive an invitation to do your interview. The Kira Online Talent Assessment, I always describe it as kind of like a job interview with a computer. Essentially, you will have 2 video assessments and a written assessment. For the video assessments, You'll open up your laptop, you will log in and create an account on this platform that you can see pictured to the right. You will receive a prompt on the screen that could be something like, tell me about a time where you were overwhelmed at work. How did you handle it? From there, you'll record yourself speaking and answering this question. It's very short. It's usually around like 2.5 minutes. So you'll have two questions like that. And then a written assessment, which is going to do roughly the same thing. Instead of recording yourself speaking, you'll have around 10 minutes to write a response. The admissions interview we just talked about a little bit, but again, that is focused on your motivation, your communication, and your interpersonal skills. One of the big questions, of course, in your MBA decision-making process is how you can finance your MBA. Scholarships and loans are two of the really common paths that our students take. I'll go through our scholarships in a moment. On the loan side, there are some loan providers that we work with that I encourage you to check our website for and check their website for up-to-date news about the loans that they're able to offer. Loans can also be available on a national basis. So depending on where you live in the world, there might be local banks, national banks that could provide you loan funding as well. Scholarship side. So the nice thing about our scholarship process is that there's no separate application. So when you go through and do all of the things that we just talked about in our admissions process, from your online application to your interview to your essay, while we are evaluating you for your admissions decision in the program, we're also thinking at that time about your scholarship fit. So there's a list for all of our scholarships on the screen. We have Force for Positive Change, which is all about our mission and how, you maybe mentioned this in your essay if you've had a really impactful career or done a lot with volunteering or something like that. We have Women in Business, which isn't only for women, it can also be for allies who are really dedicated to uplifting women in their workplaces. Diversity isn't just where you're coming from, it's also about the perspective you bring. So if you're coming from maybe a unique career path or a unique part of the world, those are all examples of diversity for us. We have our Dean's Assistance Award, which is for a more financial need-based cases. Our Lifelong Learning Scholarship is for graduates of Erasmus University. So if there are anyone on this webinar who studied previously for their bachelor's or their master's at Erasmus, you'd be eligible for a discount there. We have our Merit Award, which is all about celebrating and recognizing your academic as well as your career performance. And finally, we have our Alumni Impact Scholarship, which is a scholarship that our alumni help decide on. So as I mentioned, there's no extra essay or extra application you need to fill out to be considered for a scholarship when you complete the application process. And we give you your admissions decision. We will let you know about your scholarship amount at the same time that you get your decision. So that means that you aren't going to have to wait and wonder, did I get a scholarship? Did I not? You'll get a letter that says, congratulations, you've been accepted to our program, and we're really thrilled to be offering you a scholarship of X amount. In terms of amount, because that is always a very important question following the scholarship discussion, I'd say our average scholarship amount is typically between 10 to maybe 20% of our tuition fee, which is 67,000 euros. So you can think an average scholarship might be in the range of 7 to 15,000 euro scholarships. We definitely have some larger awards and smaller awards. It's really about the kind of profile that you are able to present throughout the admissions process. All right, I would open the floor up to any Q&A at this time. If you have a question, please pop it into the box. All right, quiet group. Then I can, okay, great. Can we have multiple scholarships? So when you receive the scholarship, so let me go back to that slide. When you receive your offer and it comes with a scholarship, it's going to say just one scholarship. So if you receive a diversity scholarship of 5,000 euros, you're not also going to get a women business scholarship of 5,000 euros. Instead, you would only receive a diversity scholarship that maybe could be worth 5,000, but it could also be worth 10,000 euros. So when I say the range of around 10 to 15% of the tuition, that will be all essentially one scholarship that has an amount within that range. Also important for you to know on the scholarship front is that you can always look to see if there are resources for you in the country for completing your studies overseas. For example, in Saudi Arabia and Indonesia, there are options for you to study with different scholarships. It's always nice to check out what could be available to you outside of just the scholarships that we offer. And again, there is the loan route as well. So if you're thinking, I think I might get a really strong scholarship, but it doesn't quite doesn't quite cover the amount that I'm expecting to pay for my MBA, you can always see what the loan options are like as well. I'll also move ahead to our pictures. So this is indeed our last information session of this recruitment cycle. We have one more webinar this year that I'll be hosting in December that's really focused on entrepreneurship and startups. So if you're thinking maybe one day I want to have my own business, or I really want to work for like an up and coming company in the Netherlands, we'll have a webinar focused on that. But besides our online events, part of our job is traveling to where you are all located. So through the rest of this year, we'll be having a few more events in Europe. We'll be visiting Hamburg, Germany in November. We'll also be traveling to the Middle East and to Asia in November. So if you are in Casablanca, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Manila, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, or maybe another city, you can always check out our website to see where we're located. We do a lot of international MBA fairs, as well as host our own coffee chats on the ground when we are traveling to those places. All right. Any other questions from our participants? Right, I'm not seeing any others come through, so I am going to go back to our student clubs and talk to you a little bit more about what those look like, because I think they're really fun. So another example that I like to share from our cohort about the curious and collaborative nature of our students. We have the supply chain club here. And supply chain, if you're not familiar with it, it just speaks to kind of the logistics and supply and demand of things, where you can get parts, where you can manufacture, where you ship to and produce your product compared to where it's sold. In one of our first slides, we talked a little bit about how Rotterdam is home to one of the largest ports in the world, and indeed the largest port in Europe. So our supply chain club this year organized an event to go visit the port and talk to kind of the port management company. And even though I know that not all of our students are involved in the supply chain field or even interested in that, out of the 127 students we have in this cohort, it was actually almost 100 students participated in this visit. So I think that really speaks to just the nature of, an MBA and getting to experience new things that maybe you don't want to work in, or maybe it could be something interesting for you in the future. I can also say a bit about our wellness club because, you're going to relocate to a new country. This usually means leaving behind maybe some of your family and your friends, and it's really important that you feel supported and secure in your new environment. So, our wellness club, we have two students who are yoga instructors, and they've been hosting yoga classes for their classmates. I think this is a nice way to engage with your fellow students outside of the classroom and really just focus on mindfulness. Of course, with that, I'll also say that health and well being are really important for all of our students. There are a number of mental health resources available to you as a student on campus. And for, let's say, the more physical side of things, students receive a special price at the on campus Erasmus Sports. And that is everything from your typical gym where you can lift weights, but there are also tennis courts, there are pickleball courts, from what I understand. And of course, that's a great way to blow off some steam with your classmates after kind of the typical day. All right. If there's nothing else, I see maybe one more question coming in. Does the participation in the clubs have any weight on our academics, or are these to improve socializing skills? That's a really nice question. Thank you for answering it. So, there's no grades for clubs. They are, in fact, optional, and they can definitely help with improving your socializing. But a lot of time, the clubs are really valuable for networking, especially on, let's say, the professional club side. So, like I mentioned, there are the visits that, like, the crypto club did with Binance, or the supply chain club did to the port. When you're thinking about maybe meeting someone who could help you find a job one day or give you a reference into their company, this is a really nice way to find connections within your desired industry. So, our marketing club, for example, did a visit to one of the largest marketing agencies. When you're in the agency, you're going to be doing, let's say, the club stuff. So, participating in whatever session. But you should also be thinking, okay, how can the fact that I maybe was the co president of my marketing club look like on my CV? Is that going to show a future recruiter that I'm really interested in the marketing field? If I apply for a job one day after the MBA at this agency, how can I say in my cover letter that I visited this agency through my MBA and I had the chance to meet maybe one of their VPs or something like that? It's really not just about the fun or just about the academics. It's about building those lifelong connections that are really important for your MBA. Any final questions before I wrap up? And I'm going to go ahead and put the admissions manager contacts back on the screen. All right, then I think we are all set. Thank you very much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to share more about the MBA and hopefully answer some of your questions and give you a better understanding as to what life as a student could look like at RSM. I will be reaching out with a recording of this session to everyone who registered. So if you want to refer back to something, that is totally something you can do through the recording. Like I said, the best next step for you after this webinar is to get in touch with your recruitment and admissions manager. You'll see we have different regions assigned to us, so you can reach out to the representative for your region. From there, you can have a CV assessment done. You can have a one-to-one consultation completed. You can meet us on the road, like I said, when we're traveling to different events. We are here to help you. We are here to discuss how an MBA could really benefit you as an individual. And of course, we'd love to meet some of you in Rotterdam one day. So thank you all. I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day, and thanks for spending some of your afternoon or wherever you are in the world with me.